good? How are you good? All right. Everyone ready?
We're ready.
Awesome. Appreciate everyone's patience since we got everything set up with cameras here today. Just want to make it clear with the camera, it's facing just towards us, so no one in the audience is going to be on camera. After we get through our presentation, we're going to have an open Q&A session, and after that, we'll be turning off the camera so no one has to worry about their voice being recorded as well. You'll see that video posted on YouTube and our Facebook later, so definitely come back and check that out. For anyone that can't make it here today, that's an option for them as well. And so we're here today to present our CBD 101 class to try and help educate the community and explain some general information and understanding about Cannabidiol. All right, a little bit about us. Here at Discover CBD, that's our company name. We actually started out as an online storefront in August 2015, and 2 years later, around July 2017, we actually started our first retail store location. We now have 5 here in Colorado. And in 2019, we actually opened up franchise opportunities as well. So we now have Discover CBD franchise stores set up in 3 other states, and one of them has 2 different setups. And so as far as what we have a few main focuses of what we want to do here with us, Discover CBD, and one of our #1 priorities is that quality. So while Discover CBD is our company name, we actually manufacture our own house brand called Active CBD Oil. And with that, we always want to make sure that we're having the highest quality at every step along the way. So with our own house brand, while we don't usually grow our own hemp, we usually source it from the best quality at the time, usually around southern Colorado, so it's still grown locally here. And we're going to be taking that hemp and extracting it using supercritical CO2 extraction, so no harsh solvents are used. And then we're working with those extracted products as those base ingredients to make our own products for our active line. And a few major points with that is we do third-party lab testing for every batch that we make. So every bottle is going to have a QR code and a batch number on that bottle. So you're going to always have that transparency. You're going to know exactly how much CBD is going to be in these products. And for a lot of people that may have concerns with like THC being in those products, having that extra level of assurance that most of our products actually don't have any THC. So a few quality points. Actually, another thing recently in 2019, we became Leaping Bunny certified. It's a testament to say that we don't do any, we're cruelty-free, and we don't do any testing on animals, which is really important. And of course, education is one of our other biggest priorities. That's why we've brought everyone here today. I'm super happy to have everyone out here. Thank you once again. And even with that, beyond having events like this, these CBD 101 classes, if any of you come into our stores, all of our staff is highly knowledgeable. We go through about a 2 to 3 week training period before we even are first speaking to customers. So we want to make sure that everyone's going to be as knowledgeable as they can to help answer those questions. And always being there to help out as well. If you ever give us a call, we're happy to have a conversation with you over the phone. And we also have an excellent chat feature on our website, discovercbd.com.
We also take the community very seriously. In 2018, we donated to over 8 different local charities. In 2019, we actually became the official sponsor of Conservation Colorado. And this is why we are putting on the class today. It's not to necessarily sell anybody anything. It's more just we still want you to know the difference between products and product types.
Yeah, definitely. So what is CBD and where does it come from? Well, CBD stands for Cannabidiol. It's one of over 100 plus cannabinoids found in the cannabis plant. It's important to note that it's just that molecular compound, that's what a cannabinoid is, that are found in both plants, as in phytocannabinoids like CBD, and we also have endocannabinoids already within our own bodies that are very similar. But we're going to be getting further into that science in a little bit. But the important thing with CBD is that it can be extracted from either hemp or marijuana. Those are both considered cannabis.
So what's the big difference between hemp and marijuana? It's going to be the THC count. So as far as a 2018 hemp farm bill actually set those standards, so anything under 0.03% is going to be legal amounts of THC. It's not going to be enough to get you high or anything like that, but it's enough to still give you the potential benefits of the THC molecule. So with marijuana, it's going to grow very high in THC and low in CBD. With hemp, which is what we personally use, is going to be high in CBD and low in THC. So marijuana, it's going to get you high. If you have hemp, there's not going to be a high with it. There may possibly be a psychoactive effect, but it's not going to be the high that we're used to from the THC molecule.
And psychoactive in that definition, meaning that it's going to have an effect on our mental process. We see tons of people using it even just for that calming effect that they could possibly get out of CBD. The main thing to consider is that with THC that high, the main keyword is going to be intoxication. So with CBD, unlike its brother THC, it's non-intoxicating. So,
And it is also important to note that CBD, whether it comes from marijuana or hemp, will still be the same molecule.
exactly.
So why are individuals turning to CBD? We are not medical professionals, and we do not make any medical recommendations or claims. But we do see many customers coming in for several of these different kinds of issues, amongst many others. So physically, things like pain management is a very common thing that people come into our store wanting relief from. When it comes to mental issues, anxiety is probably our top thing that people come into the store for. Just because we have a very busy society, there's a lot of things going on in our lives, and that can affect us.
But as you can see, that's just a brief list of some of the potential reasons people are using CBD for. We hear people even using it beyond the things that are listed. I mean, as research is progressing, we're always discovering new potential uses of CBD as well. So we have those naturally occurring endocannabinoids, endo meaning it's from within our own system. And that's why when we take these other cannabinoids, as in phytocannabinoids, meaning phyto coming from the plants, that's when they're actually going to be going to those same receptors, and that's why it works so similar in how we can actually receive these cannabinoids like CBD and THC, for instance. And so the lock and key is a constant in a lot of research out there of that analogy, because it explains how certain keys may fit those receptors specifically for them. And with that, as I kind of explained, it's going to help regulate all those other systems to promote homeostasis or balance for all of our other systems. So this next slide kind of explaining, there's going to be a few main side receptors, either with the CB1 or the CB2. The CB1 receptors are usually going to be more focused in the central nervous system, down the spine, in the brain area, whereas the CB2 receptors are going to be more peripheral throughout the rest of your body. So those are going to be the main aspects of that, and kind of showing with this as well. Those naturally occurring endocannabinoids that are hitting those same sites as those receptors, kind of that lock and key analogy. And then this diagram shows the synaptic connections and how the signaling is going to happen, releasing the signals. And so showing on those spots as well that those cannabinoids are going to be binding to those receptors as that lock and key analogy. And so we have those, that's kind of good visuals there for you.
So that's going to bring us into dosing and bell curve. Again, we are not medical professionals, and we cannot recommend any dosing. It's going to go back to CBD works individually. So what works for one person may not work for another person with the same dosage, same even product type. So what we have found with especially CBD isolate is going to be a bell curve. So taking too much is the same as taking too little. And so most people start typically low and work their way up. Because if you start high, you don't know which way to go if that's not working for you. So most people between 5 and 10 milligrams is what they start with. Give yourself a few days of that just to see how you're feeling. At that point, then you would go ahead, if you're not feeling the benefits that you're looking for, then you can go ahead and start increasing slowly with allowing yourself time to see how that's working with your system.
Yeah, and so this is just kind of showing the trends, kind of as you kind of hit. Different CBD products may have a little bit of a different trend as far as that goes. With CBD isolate, it's going to be mostly this bell curve, but without going too far ahead of ourselves, so let's explain these other CBD types. So isolated CBD products are going to be working when you're working with that CBD molecule isolated from the rest of the hemp plants. And so something like that, you're going to be usually working with a little bit of some cheaper products, since it is just working with that CBD. And interesting enough, we see people that may see different results between these different categories as well.
Broad spectrum products are going to be everything from the hemp plant minus the THC. So you're gonna get like the plant terps, things like that. So plant terps, that's just what gives it the flavor and the smell. Has a potential benefit all on its own. And then the full spectrum products are going to be everything from the hemp plant. So it's going to include that THC molecule, as well as those products typically will have even plant particles still in them. And then what scientists have begun to believe is that each cannabinoid has the potential to be beneficial on their own, but when they work together, they actually become like the entourage effect. So instead of just one team member, then it's a whole team working together to benefit you.
Yeah, and as far as that bell curve sort of thing, that kind of explains more about isolated products trends. But if you're considering something that's usually broad spectrum, it usually tends to be a bit of that kind of gradual increase. It kind of reach that optimal dose and tend to plateau for a little bit. So in that case, you'd be able to still take a higher dose, but not get any potential more benefit at that point. And then with a full spectrum, there tends to be a little bit more of a linear path, or it could still continue a gradual increase. But of course, those are just patterns. These are going to be affecting everyone differently, so it's maybe different for everyone's case. So, and I think many difference between CBD products, especially with like tinctures and oils that you take sublingual under the tongue. We see either tends to be something more oil-based, is the kind of the traditional route that you see most tinctures and oils out there be, and then there's going to be water soluble. So typically, the CBD molecule is going to be oil soluble, so that's why it's going to be one of the more popular ones. You also see a lot of people going for that to make their own CBD products. For instance, taking an isolate and infusing it into an oil-based, a carrier oil if they're choosing. And with that, I kind of explained earlier, it's going to be a little bit more cheaper going that route as well.
With the water soluble, it's actually formulated to be encapsulated in another formulation that just absorbs better into our system. So obviously we are water-based creatures, so we just absorb that a little better if it is water soluble. The benefits of that is you can add it to food and drinks. Definitely, CBD has a bitter taste to it. The plant is very earthy. If you're able to add it to like coffee, then that kind of covers up that bitterness a little more. It also completely dissolves in water, so it's not like the oil base is just gonna separate and sit on top and be nasty. It's actually gonna absorb in there. So, or dissolve in there. So then when you're taking it, then you're getting all of that benefit and you're not gonna have that oil just on the sides of your tongue, things like that. But one of the best benefits is gonna be the increased absorption rate. So with water soluble, you're just gonna absorb at a better rate.
And so with that absorption rate, kind of in this field, it's called that bioavailability, or the percentage of that CBD actually absorbed. So not only how much you're absorbing, but also even the rate. So it could absorb even quicker in some cases with water soluble versus oil based. And that's actually our next point, going into bioavailability, not only between oil soluble and water soluble base, might have different bioavailability numbers depending on how you take CBD. So as far as just some general ranges for you, you're going to go for something like oral ingestion. Usually that could be anywhere between 10 to 90%, depending on whether you're going for something oil or water soluble base. You're going something sublingual, anywhere between 40 to 80% or more. Once again, depends on what you're taking with that. Vaping is going to be a little bit less, anywhere between like 30 to 40% as a range. And topicals, since those are going to be applied directly to the skin, they generally only penetrate so far, maybe the first 5 layers of skin, so they're not going to be absorbed significantly in the bloodstream, if at all. So that's why we don't usually see people really dosing out with topicals, but really using those more as needed. And with something like transdermal patch, those are topicals that are specifically designed and formulated to be absorbed in the bloodstream. And so those are going to usually be a little bit higher as far as being ranged like 80 to 90% bioavailability. So kind of going to go explain kind of each of these methods a little bit further.
So the methods of consumption when you're working with tinctures of oils. So tincture is just going to be a glass bottle with a glass dropper. So you can either do that sublingually, so under your tongue. You would hold it there anywhere from 30 to 60 to 90 seconds, just depends on how long you want to hold it. The effects are generally felt a little sooner, so about 10 to 15 minutes. Again, depends on each person. And then those effects can last anywhere from 4 to 6 hours. If you're able to do like the water soluble and mix it in a drink instead, you can put that in coffee, tea, juice, really any kind of liquid. I've even had people that put it in yogurt. So effects can be felt anywhere from 45 minutes to about an hour and a half. So it takes about that long to digest and get into our system. But once that happens, it can have about double the longevity. So anywhere from 8 to 12 hours, again, depending on each person.
I mean, everyone's going to have an entirely different metabolism, so it could be different times of how long it may take to kick in, as well as how long it may last. These are just trying to see averages to give you guys an idea today. And if you were, I mean, we mentioned taking some water soluble to drink, you could do something oil soluble, but that bioavailability would go down quite significantly. Where generally, if you're using an oil-based tincture, usually you're going to absorb significantly more if you're going the sublingual route under the tongue. And then the next method, kind of going with that oral ingestion, anything that you could swallow. We see usually either in the form of capsules, which in the case of our capsules, they're going to be water soluble, so it usually has a little bit higher bioavailability with that. So usually effects can be felt in between like 30 to 90 minutes, and could usually last anywhere between like 10 to 12 hours. In comparison, something like the gummies, those may usually be felt within like 45 minutes to 90 minutes, but once again, kind of similar duration with that.
And then again, topicals really not going to penetrate. Those are typically applied directly to the skin wherever you're having issues. And then will not, if it does absorb, it's going to absorb very slowly over an amount of time. It's really not going to affect anything that you're doing internally. Transdermal is going to be one of the highest bioavailabilities just because that's going to get into your bloodstream because of the transdermal gel that they use for that. They typically come in a patch. They're applied directly to the skin. Ours specifically have lidocaine in them. So you would want to put it where you're having the issue. So for me personally, like my back, that's where I would apply it. Those are typically fast acting. So you're going to feel it within probably, for me personally, 10 minutes, but it could be a little different depending on you, of course. And those can last anywhere from 12 to 48 hours, depending on the brand that you're using and the product.
And kind of a benefit too with something like transdermal patch is that you could microdose a little bit by putting those in halves or quarters to kind of control that dosing, however much you need in your consideration of what your situation is. So kind of another method is vaping. Really the big thing with vaping is you only want to vape something that's going to be intended to be used as vaping. So some people may consider taking something like vaping like more of like an oil base, but that may not be a good idea because oils are going to be lipid based, and if you're getting those lipids into your lungs, you could potentially risk getting lipid pneumonia. So we see a lot of issues in here. That might be an example. Another example would be something like a reliable source. If they're not getting it from a reliable source, they're buying from the black market. Big thing is the cartridges and as well as what's actually in it. But as vaping is a general thing, it's going to be absorbed into the bloodstream through the lungs. And so that's going to be one of the quicker methods in where you can possibly feel the effects within a few minutes. But it's also going to be the quickest to leave the system, so it also usually won't last more than an hour and a half to 2 hours. Or 45 minutes, really kind of ranging everywhere.
So pets and CBD. So we've seen a lot of people come in specifically for their pets. So the potential benefits, so they have an endocannabinoid system just like we do. So they actually need just a little less than we do. We do have this serving as size as our dosing chart as just something to go off of. Obviously, you want to start low just like you would with us, especially since animals don't have that ability to tell you whether it's too much or it's not helping. So dosing is going to be very specific to your animal, just like to us. They usually come in either pet treats or pet tinctures. The treats are usually very beneficial for smaller animals. Myself personally, I have a larger dog, so the pet tincture is a little better for him. You can do it, if they'll do it like this little pup did, you can put it directly into their mouth. Us in the stores, we do have plastic droppers. if you want that instead. Definitely don't want the dog to bite down and break the glass dropper. And then,
I mean, the pet treats are also kind of associated with a lot of pets as more of that reward factor as well. So that's why some may even prefer that. But the challenge with any treats, some pets are really picky with what they eat. Whereas something like the tinctures and oils, you can put those drops directly onto their food, favorite treat, piece of bread, piece of meat, whatever you know that they'll eat. Cool. And the reason why, I mean, of course, pets can potentially benefit because all mammals have an endocannabinoid system, so we could all potentially benefit from that. So, big thing with the industry is, the big question I'm asking anywhere that you go is, do you guys do third-party lab testing? And can you guys produce certificates of analysis, something like this? And of course, we do this for every batch that we make. This is an example of our capsules. As you can kind of read on the top left, it's CAP 10-05-005. And that's going to be the batch number that you're going to want to look for to match up with the product that you may be using or in consideration of using. And the date usually matching up pretty relevant and similar to where you're currently purchasing, usually within the last few months, per date pretty recently. This is an example of one that we had from years ago, from about a year ago, CBD 101 class. And then the other thing, major important factor is the cannabinoid potency here, showing you exactly how much CBD is going to be in that product, going off of the serving size. If you look here at the bottom, usually at the notes section, there may be a sample size. This is our capsule, so it's going off of a sample of one individual capsule. Normally, those are going to be about 25 milligrams. So it's like this guy ranged out like 28.3. And of course, we never are going to be down and lower in the milligrams, so we always make sure that everything's going to be a little bit higher, just to make sure that where you're going to get exactly what you're looking for, you're never going to be short out on product. So that's one thing to be looking out for.
Another thing to consider is the margin of error. Obviously, this is going to be our isolate product, so isolate cannot be more than 100%. So that's why that is actually over, is because there is a margin of error. You also want to make sure that you check the lab credentials and the contact information for the lab to make sure it's a legitimate lab. We actually use different labs just to keep that transparency with our customers, to let you know that we're not just paying off one lab to say whatever we want. And so we actually do have a couple of the new tinctures, isolate tinctures we just came out with. So they're going to be a different cannabinoid than CBD. So this one is the CBG. We're only going to briefly go over it just because this is the CBD 101 class and not CBD or CBN. So CBG is another cannabinoid from the hemp plant. It has the potential benefits. There's a lot of research still needed on all of these minor cannabinoids. So the ones that they have seen potential benefits with is the digestive issues, pain and inflammation, skin issues, nausea, and eye issues. Again, this is another cannabinoid you want to start low with, just because you don't know how that's going to interact with your system. So approximately 2.5 milligrams. With the guys that we have, each dropper is going to be 5 milligrams, so you start about a half a dropper.
And then the other one, kind of briefly mentioned it, but that would be CBN. The big thing to point out with this is you may not want to drive any operative machinery until you know how this is going to affect you, because with CBN, it may make you drowsy. And that's why a lot of people are using it for potential benefits of helping them sleep, insomnia issues, as a potential sedative, and even regulating the immune system and pain and inflammation. Once again, usually starting off with those lower dosing ranges, especially because you may not know how it might affect you. 2.5 milligrams is pretty average for those for anything that you're trying out. That's a different cannabinoid. Anything has its own potential benefit. All these are cannabinoids that are going to have their own potential reaches, what they do for you. So, going into some frequently asked questions that we get on our chats and in stores all the time. How soon will I see results? Well, with CBD, like I said, it's going to be affecting everyone differently. So generally, we've had some people that report that they see great results within even the first few doses, their first 2 times of trying CBD. Then there's other people like myself that was at it consistently for about 2 weeks, experimenting with my dosage before I really realized where my optimal dosage was at. Versus generally, if it's more of an internal issue, we generally see more people going through internal methods, like a tincture oil that you take on the tongue or anything oral ingested, for example.
Will this interfere with my medications? Once again, not medical professionals. However, anytime that you're taking any kind of medication, it's always a good idea to speak with your doctor first. Some people don't feel comfortable asking about CBD. Instead, you can use the grapefruit question. So, does this medication interact with grapefruit? If it does, then it will probably have a very similar interaction with CBD.
I mean, in that regard, too, there have been even case studies in regards to certain medications, like some blood thinners, like warfarin, that have some case studies with that. So, if in general, if you have any concerns with taking CBD with any medications, it's always best to consult a doctor first. So, what are terpenes? Terpenes are organic plants, their natural taste and smell, as well as have their own potential benefits. All plants have their own selective terpenes and a wide range of effect, and the smells of effects will get out.
A good example of that is lavender. Has a calming effect on us. It's actually the terpenes that is in it that is giving you that benefit. How much THC is in this product? We actually only ourselves produce one product that will have that THC molecule. Again, not enough to give you a psychoactive effect as far as a high, but it does have the potential to benefit you. The rest of our products will not have any THC in them. Again, when you're working with different companies, you'll definitely just want to check those lab reports. Make sure that you're looking at the THC count to see how much THC is in that product.
Absolutely. They're talking about tests is the biggest testament to how you're going to know for sure how much would be in there at that moment. And then with that, will I fail a drug screen? Well, legally we can't guarantee that due to several factors involved. For instance, we don't know what people may be doing outside of the products that they're taking. Lots of people tend to use CBD as the reason why they make this hot when they're actually going outside with that and partaking in the THC after that and blame it on the CBD products. But that's why we do third-party lab testing for every batch to confirm that. However, we do see plenty of people that do get regular drug screening. So military personnel, CDL drivers, nurses, all those people that do get regular drug screening for their job that are using our THC-free products, we receive no complaints on our ends.
Can I apply with our products? As far as CBD goes, recently the TSA did actually say that CBD is allowed on planes. However, it is still up to the individual TSA worker that's checking the bags to determine whether or not that's a legal or illegal substance. So what a lot of our customers will do is actually print out that third-party lab report for that specific product. Again, each one of our products is going to have the batch number that coincides with that lab report, so that there is no doubt in anyone's mind what's in that product.
So I just wanted to share some of our own personal experiences as we both use CBD as well. In my personal experience, I've used it for my anxiety and responsibility to make sure that most people get CBD for. Whenever I take CBD, it always gives me that kind of calming, lets me feel that it helps me focus throughout my day and helps me calm my nerves when having to come up and present public speak. That's helped me tremendously already. So even things with muscle soreness and recovery, I like to live a very active lifestyle. So mountain biking, hiking, and going to the gym, it's just helped me all with that recovery. Because before I took CBD, I would do some of these activities, pushing myself too hard, and I feel basically the repercussions of that for a few days after, just feeling super sore and drained. So it's helped me tremendously.
And for me, I'm 35 years old. I have had a very hard time holding down my job because of my anxiety, because of the stress, and most importantly, because I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. So I have night terrors and things like that. When I first started with Discover CBD, I had tried CBD before. It did not work. Probably because I took too much. But with gaining the knowledge that I have at this company and trying our own products, not only have I gotten relief from the night terrors that used to keep me up, but I also have the availability and the calmness
to be able to stand in front of all of you today, share that part of me, and still stand up here with a smile because I believe in our products. I believe in CBD in general, not necessarily just our products, but CBD. I've seen customers come in with amazing stories that make us very emotional. But me personally, I've experienced that myself. People I know that I've had try our products have had similar experiences. So I do believe that there is a potential, there is something happening. Now my goal in life is just to educate the public so that the public can have that option as well.
Just as a final thank you for everyone attending today before we open up our Q&A, and also wanted to make reference to some of our sources that we have used, just kind of showing there is plenty of scientific studies that we're learning from, looking out for. And for anyone that's interested, if they don't have a question that they may not want to speak publicly without everyone hearing them, we'll be hanging out after this to have a one-on-one conversation. We'll have that.
And we do thank each and every one of you for coming out, even with the weather, and joining us today. Thank you. And the camera is off.